Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'd like to share a question with you once again. A really interesting one by a sister. My friends and even family are against me wearing hijab. They didn't like it. They said I'm fake. Yes, I'm not perfect. I never wore it before. As of today, they are still against it and say I'm doing it out of a trend. I do feel strongly about it. What is your advice? This is a really good question about a number of things. First, let's talk about hijab itself. The fact that you're doing that is actually a really beautiful application of Allah's words. Allah Himself described yudnina alayhinna min jalabibihinna and yudribna bi khumurihinna ala juyubihinna in Surah An-Nur, that they cover their hair and drop the scarf over their chests is actually an act of worship to Allah. And it's actually an acknowledgement of one's mindfulness of Allah. So it's a beautiful spiritual act that you're doing. Don't let anybody tell you you wear hijab to protect yourself from the eyes of men, or you wear hijab because it's better for society. That's not what Allah said. Allah said you're doing it for Him. Allah said that this is actually for you, for yourself. And that's a spiritual act. And may Allah increase your iman and benefit you in ways that the angels are making dua for you and protecting you every time you put it on, because every time you do so, you are reinforcing and strengthening your faith. Now let's talk about your family. They're against you wearing hijab. The thing is, a lot of times people are very confused between what is love and what is control. I love my family. But sometimes people use that love and hijack it and make it sound like, if you love me, you will do what I say. If I'm your parent, I'm your mother, I'm your father, now do as I say. A husband can try to exert control over the wife. A wife can try to exert control over the husband. Parents can try to exert control over children. Control and love are not the same thing. Control and love are not the same thing. And sometimes in these relationships, the entire relationship becomes about control. The same way when the girl decides to wear hijab, and her family says, if you put this on, you are not part of this family. If you put this on, you're embarrassing the family. Is that true? Are you embarrassing anyone? Because lots of people are wearing hijab outside on the street and nobody's embarrassed by anybody. So this is in their head. And they've created a false standard for what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And they're controlling you and putting that on you. This kind of emotional manipulation that is unacceptable, that parents do sometimes or family does sometimes, is not something you need to ever give in to. When you know you're not doing something wrong, then don't let anybody else throw gaslight on you. When you know you're doing something right, then nobody else gets to say to you, even your parents don't get to say to you, don't do this. If you do this, then I'm not happy with you, or I'm going to pray against you. What a disappointment you are. You've become an extremist. You become a fanatic. All kinds of comments like that. Those are comments, they don't come from love. If love was there, nobody talks like that. I'm not even discussing Islam right now. I'm discussing how problematic this relationship is, where parents, instead of loving their children, are actually trying to control their children. I had a conversation with my daughters not too long ago. A few years ago, before they were becoming teenagers. And I told them, you girls, one day you'll decide to wear hijab or not wear hijab. Right now you're wearing it, that's fine. But one day you'll decide maybe you don't want to wear it anymore. Or one day you'll decide maybe you want to keep it. Maybe one day one of you will come to me and say, I want to marry this boy. And you'll come to me with an option, that you want to marry someone. And let me tell you something. Allah did not make me responsible for all of your choices. If you decide to do something wrong, Allah will ask you. Once you become adults, you're responsible. I'm not responsible. And if you decide to marry somebody and you want my approval, I'll do my investigation. I'll tell you I like this person, it's okay, or I don't like this person, but still you decide. If you still want to do it, it's your mistake to make. I will not control you. I will not tell you you can do this or you cannot do this. I'll give you my advice. That's my job, to give you my best advice. But once you become an adult, I have to respect the fact that you are now an adult and the only one you answer to is Allah. You don't answer to me. You don't answer to my commands. That's a conversation I've had with my own children. And I'm telling you, parents don't understand where the line of control is. You cannot tell your children to pray or not to pray. You can advise them when they become adults. That's fine. And even advice has its limits. When your advice becomes too heavy, it backfires. So if your family is against you wearing hijab, that's the first problem. The second is they remind you of your previous mistakes. You said in your question, they say I'm fake. And you said, yes, I'm not perfect. You know why you said that? Because they remind you of the time when you used to not wear hijab, and they say, oh, all of a sudden you're an angel? You become a sheikha now? Or you become a sahabiya now? What happened last year when you were at the Eid party, huh? Who was dancing? So they remind you of your mistake, and when they remind you of their mistake, they're saying, you can never be a good person because your mistakes are the only thing you will ever be worth. Your whole life should be defined by your mistakes. So every time you try to make a new decision in your life, they will remind you of your past mistakes. This is not an act of love. This is a kind of emotional manipulation, a kind of gaslighting, a kind of abuse that is unacceptable. No one should be reminding anyone of their mistakes. The mistakes are recorded by the one who you made a mistake with, by Allah, and Allah will remind us of them on Judgment Day. When people try to remind other people of their mistakes, they are acting out of line. They're taking something only Allah has a right to do. They should never ever cross that line. This is what Fir'aun did. Fir'aun told Musa, فَفَعَلْتَ فَعْلَتَكَ الَّتِي فَعَلْتَ. You did what you did, remember? You did that crime, huh? Now you say you're a messenger? So we don't use in our family when somebody's reminding you of your past imperfections and you start saying, yes, you're right, I'm not perfect. So what if you're not perfect? Who is perfect? Is it one day that you're going to wake up and say, oh, finally I'm perfect. Now I can wear hijab. If you decide to wake up one day and say you're perfect, that's a bigger problem than not wearing hijab. That's the biggest problem you've ever had with your faith. Because human beings should not be living in arrogance. Human beings should never believe that they're beyond mistakes. So your mistakes, them reminding you of your mistakes, is their crime, not yours. And you should thank Allah that when they talk like that, they're taking your sins. The other thing is, you should avoid putting your parents in that position. If your parents start or your family starts getting ignorant about their comments on hijab, leave that conversation. Walk away. It's okay. And if they say, oh, Islam teaches you to walk away from your parents, yes. When they're saying abusive things, then yes, because if you stay there, they say more abusive things, the angels are writing that against them. So when you're walking away, you are doing them a favor by the angels not writing more crimes against them. If you love them, you will walk away. I don't think this is a good thing. I'm going to take a step back, and you start walking away. This is actually a test from Allah. You know, when somebody used to be away from Allah and they decide that they're going to take a step towards Allah, then Allah tests them by making them leave things that they love. Every time, every story. Doesn't matter if you're in Malaysia or Indonesia or in America or in Australia or Europe. Every time someone decides to come towards Allah, Allah has them sacrifice some part of their life that they used to love. And when they make one step towards Allah, their family starts criticizing them. Their friends start making fun of them. Everybody that they feel that they used to belong to, they feel like they don't belong to them anymore. And that's part of the process of coming to Allah. Allah wants you to get away from the people that were not genuine, and they show that they're not genuine by pushing you away, and then you find the true, genuine company of Allah. Before you find the company of Allah, shaitan comes to you. And shaitan comes to you and says, look at you. You accepted this religion. You took one little step in this religion, and your job gives you a hard time. Your family gives you a hard time. Everybody's making fun of you. Everybody's disappointed in you. Everybody's always mad at you. Before Islam, life was happy. After one little step in Islam, all these problems in your life. Why do you want these problems? Go back and have an easy life. And at that point, if you decide to still take one more tiny step towards Allah, it is at that point that Allah gives you a peace in your heart and a company, Allah's own company, that no money will ever pay for. When you submit to Allah's will, you do something for Allah, even though other people are getting upset with you, but you did it for Allah anyway. That's when you find your bond with Allah, because you paid a price for that bond. La ilaha illallah is easy to say, but is very expensive to feel in your heart. It's very expensive. You have to pay a price for it. And these words that you hear from your family, they're not easy. They're humiliating. And you could say, oh, it's just words, no big deal. No. Harsh words are something so scary that Musa alayhi salam was afraid more of the harsh words of Fir'aun than of even being killed. Maryam was more afraid of hard words from the Israelites that she wished she was dead before she heard those words. Ya laytani mittu qabla hadha. So the fact that you have to face these harsh words is not a small jihad, is not a small struggle. May Allah reward you for that struggle. That's a profound thing that you're doing. But stand up for yourself and don't let anybody bully you, even if it's your own family. Don't be disrespectful back to them. Don't yell at them. Don't be abusive towards them. But stand your ground. But never become harsh in response. You should show them the best character. The meaner they get, the nicer you are. So they see Islam did not make you hard. Islam made you soft. Islam made you kind. Islam made you more respectful. Islam made you tolerant. This is what Allah's deen did. And when that happens, then they are conquered. Then they have nothing left to say. May Allah protect you, preserve you, and continue to strengthen you in every step that you take in your faith. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.